Hey everyone, and welcome to UK Media Warrior. And Game of Thrones is back. Thank God, we've been waiting for this for so long now. It feels like forever, but it's finally back. And I saw the first episode last night when it aired in the UK here. Now, what do I think of this first episode? Well, to be honest, I kind of felt it was a bit slow. Yeah, I know. I've been waiting so long. I've had so many high hopes for this season, especially after seeing the incredible trailers. But they kind of opened with a slow episode here, and that kind of surprised me. This is a smaller season. They've got less episodes here, and they've got a lot of stuff that they obviously want to cover. So they've wasted a lot of time in their first episode. They didn't even cover all of the main characters. And there are a lot less main characters now than we had to start with because so many people have died. But we didn't get to see Yara. We didn't get to see Theon. We saw more of a few new characters. Euron got quite a nice little bit where he was meeting with Cersei and Jaime in the throne room of King's Landing. We see the Hound again and the Brotherhood Without Banners. That was cool. We see a lot of Sam, which was to me the downside of this entire episode. We spent far too much time with Sam in the Citadel, watching him change out bedpans and serve up food. It was just ridiculous. I mean, honestly, really? I mean, okay, if they wanted to let us know that he's got a pretty crap life right now as he starts off his journey to become a maester, then fine, they could have done that in probably 10 seconds or a minute tops. But they spent like 5 minutes or possibly even more. I was just not paying attention after a while because they kept showing us the same scenes, bedpans, serving soup, getting the image that they looked almost the same. It was like, just move on. And then we were hoping for a payout at the end, that all of this would be worth something, that he finally gets into the restricted section of the library, which was very similar to my mind to Harry Potter and how Harry gets into the restricted section of the library at Hogwarts. But it might have just been me anyway. But he finally gets in there. He obviously steals a few books because he takes them back to his quarters with Gilly and he's reading them. But the big payout of all this is the fact that Sam finds out that Dragonstone, the island of Dragonstone, has a huge mountain of dragon glass. Really? It's a volcanic island. They must know where dragon glass comes from. It's in the histories, it's in the myths. Targaryens used it to decorate their weapons, as we find out here. So it's not this mythical, material that nobody knows about. It's probably lying all over Dragonstone. So why is this such a big payoff? Why is this such a big mystery that the place to go looking for dragonglass would be Dragonstone? And it's also a very non-subtle way of stating that Jon and Dany now have to join forces because Dany has the dragonglass that Jon needs to defeat the White Walkers. So they've sort of like ran that together now, so that now is the reason that those two have to get together, because Jon needs the dragonglass that Dany's sitting on. Yeah, so that was disappointing. Cersei's getting a bit of decorating done. Somebody's painting a lovely big image of Westeros on one of her courtyards for her, so she's obviously becoming this dictator image now, where she likes to look out on an image of her realm, like Stannis had and the Targaryens had at Dragonstone with that table they've got. But pretty much the best part of this episode was the opening scene. Without doubt. None of the rest of the hour touched on the opening 5-10 minutes of the scene. Now, it wasn't much of a twist. We know Walder Frey had been killed at the end of last season. We saw Arya cut his throat. So we know when the second we see his face, like 3 or 4 seconds into the opening scene, we know that's Arya. You know it is. It has to be. So there's not really much of a twist there. But nonetheless, it's still an excellent scene, and the way she embodies Frey and She's got all of his family there, all the male members of the Frey family there, and she poisons them all, kills them, and then just walks out with that smile on her face. Arya is becoming, well, she always has been, to me at least, one of the best characters in Game of Thrones. Admittedly, her journey last season was a bit slow. Um, there was a lot of stuff in her story last season that was just filler. It felt like they were just trying to keep her on screen so you didn't forget about her until she could come back this season and kick ass. And I've seen one reviewer describe her as the Batman of Westeros, and she really is when it comes down to it. She can kick anyone's ass pretty much now. And obviously with the way she can change faces now, she's got that talent, thanks to the training with the Faceless Men. So she really is a force of nature now. And we saw two sides of her. We opened up with that scene where she kills all the Frey males and pretty much destroys that family. I mean, that's pretty much it. The Freys are now gone. They're decimated. They're out of the picture. So the twins will now need to be taken over by somebody else. But then we see her later on down the line where she stops and has a meal with that small band of Lannister soldiers. And we see another side of it. We see her giggle, and eventually she's giggling at her own joke because she says to them, "Oh, I'm off to kill the Queen." And for a second they all go quiet, and then they all start laughing, and she starts to giggle. But you wonder whether she's giggling because she's just joining in the humour, or whether she's giggling because they think she's joking, but she's actually deadly serious. She's going to kill Cersei. So, but it was still a nice contrast of scenes. So her wiping out an entire family, to her sitting having some rabbit around a campfire with a small group of guys. So Arya's scenes in this was pretty cool. And now we know she's heading south. She isn't heading to Winterfell to join up with Jon and Sansa. So her objective here is obviously right now to kill Cersei, and she could easily do so. I mean, it wouldn't be hard. She can pretty much wear any face she seems to need to want it to wear. So she could easily get into King's Landing and kill Cersei. Just make out she's one of Cersei's serving girls. It wouldn't be that hard. But the question then becomes, what is the prophecy? Cersei's prophecy is that she'll be killed by a younger sibling. Now, we've seen that Arya can change faces. So if she can change faces, does she change build? Now that shouldn't be possible because she's just wearing a different face. She's still Arya, so she's still the same body type. Now she could disguise that to a degree with clothes and what have you, and boots maybe. But could she perhaps imitate Jaime? Could she perhaps imitate Tyrion? So the prophecy is that Cersei will be killed by one of her younger brothers, but what if it's Arya in the disguise of one of her younger brothers? Yeah? Or what if Arya kills Cersei and takes on Cersei's persona, Cersei's face, but is then killed herself by Jaime or Tyrion when they think they're killing Cersei? Or perhaps in revenge for Arya killing Cersei. There are a few things down the road here where this could go. She might not even get to King's Landing. We have seen people start off on journeys on Game of Thrones with a set destination, but they never get there. They get sidetracked, they go off somewhere else. So anything is possible. But if she gets to King's Landing, those are just a few options that have come to my mind that might happen. I don't want her to die. As I said, she's possibly the best character in Game of Thrones right now, to me. But my second best character is Jaime, who everyone hated at the start because that was how he was portrayed. But his journey has become so gripping to me. I love watching him on screen. A fantastic actor portraying him. I can't remember the guy's name right now, which is killing me. But Nikolai Coster-Waldau, I think. But he's a fantastic actor, and he has won over people. Now, that's saying something. First, that's incredible writing. But thirdly, that's fantastic acting. That you can start off your show, your series, as main character by trying to kill a young 10-year-old boy. Basically, everyone hates your character from that point on. But by this stage, people have started to root for you. People want you to succeed. People want you to have a good ending. Now that takes some doing, and he has done an incredible job, and I love the character of Jaime and how he is turning into a better person. And he is seeing that Cersei, obviously when we've seen him in this episode, and he says, you know, well, what about Tommen? And she's like, Tommen betrayed us. He's nothing to me. He's dead. He's ashes. I don't care about that anymore. And you see the look on his face, like, that's our son you're talking about. You said you loved them, and now he's dead and you have no feelings whatsoever for him? And it's like, Jaime is seeing Cersei now, I think, for how she always was. She was always after power. She always said that, you know, she should have been born a male. If she was a male, she could have ruled the kingdoms. So she always wanted to be in the position she's in now, and now she's got that, and her kids are dead, which were the only redeeming factor in her character. There's nothing stopping her. Her love for Jaime seems to have been incredibly shallow, as we're seeing here. I don't think she would have if it came between her staying queen and killing Jaime, she would kill Jaime in a second. She wouldn't even hesitate. And I think Jaime's starting to see that. So the question now becomes, what does he do? Obviously, we've seen in the trailers that there's a huge battle coming up between the Lannisters and the Targaryen, Dany. Now, whether that's between the Dothraki, the dragons, and the Lannisters, which we're assuming it is, where that takes place, again, we don't know. It could be Castle Rock, it could be outside King's Landing. But wherever it is, we see Jaime alone charging across what looks like marshland that's on fire with a spear. Now, I hope to God he doesn't die, because they can't all die. You can't just keep killing off all the main best characters. So if he doesn't die, where does he go? Does he go north? Does he join up with Jon? You know, do he and Brienne get together? Everyone's shipping Brienne and Tommen, but I really don't want that. It's just like a comedy duo. If you did that, it would just be for the laughs, and you don't need that. I think there's more of a connection between Brienne and Jaime here that I'd love to see enlarged, because I honestly think that Jaime sees in Brienne a person that he can love, someone who's honourable, someone who's trusting, and will trust him, who sees him as, or wants him to become the knight and the person that he really wants to be. He's always wanted to be a heroic knight. You know, you see him in the Knight's Guard when he's in charge of the King's Guard, and he looks at his almost empty page in the book, and he says he hopes that, you know, he will have time to fill it with heroic deeds. He always wanted to be that person, but situation prevented that from happening. Now he has this chance, so I hope he grabs it and takes it and becomes the man that Brienne wants him to become. And if he does, then there's a big chance that those two could get together. What else did we see? We saw Tyrion. I don't think actually Tyrion said a single word in this episode. He just followed Dany around as they got to Dragonstone. Now, don't get me wrong, there were some incredible visuals, and we saw a lot more of Dragonstone than we've ever seen before. That is one castle you could never take by attack. You could lay siege, you could starve them out, like almost happened to Stannis Baratheon during the Civil War, but you could never attack it and hope to take it by force of arms. That is just an impossible castle to take that way. And it's a huge long walk from the beach up to the actual castle itself. You'd be absolutely exhausted by the time you got there. But anyway, we see Dany land finally on Dragonstone, where she was born, and where she was smuggled out from before the Robert's fleet, or Stannis' fleet, arrived to capture the last two remaining Targaryens, Viserys and Dany. So she is back home now, and she's taken charge of Dragonstone. She's got her Unsullied, she's got her Dothraki, she's got her fleet. She is in a position of power. She has the numbers, and she's got Tyrion alongside her. Now, Tyrion knows Westeros. He knows how to play the game on Westeros. He had a few missteps on Essos when he was looking after the city for Dany, but that was because he didn't know the people. He knows the people he's dealing with in Westeros because two of them are his family, Cersei and Jaime. So if she listens to him and is smart, there is nothing that will stop her from taking Westeros for her own. Now, it all depends on how fast those White Walkers are coming down from the north, of course, because at the moment her main opponent is Cersei. She has to take out Cersei. And if she does that, takes King's Landing, then I think everybody else will come to her banners. She's already got the Dawn. Dawn is already on her side. The Tyrells are already on her side. So that's the south bottled up. The Lannisters are the only power left in the middle, which just leaves Jon as King of the North in the north. And if she can take out Cersei and Jaime, then Jon will look on her on a lot more favourable conditions than he does right now. And they could probably negotiate even if they don't join forces. But once Cersei's gone, Dany can turn all of that power that she's got, that army, those dragons, she can turn them north and help Jon defend the realm against the oncoming White Walkers. So seeing Dragonstone was great. I loved the visuals. It did take, again, it felt like they were filling up the episode. It was just long visuals, long drawn out, walking, lovely, incredible views. That's fine. But again, it was just felt like filler in this episode. We had long, unnecessary time with Sam. We had long, almost unnecessary time with Dany and Tyrion. And then we get to Jon and Sansa. Now, I don't understand that the opening scene where you see Jon still in the hall with all of his people and he's laying out his plans, this is what he wants to do, these are his decisions, and then Sansa in front of everyone starts to disagree with him, sowing discord into their relationship in front of all of their people. Now, that's not a smart move for anyone. Now, if she wants power, that's not a smart way of doing it. You're showing everybody else who you want to follow you that you're not playing ball, that you won't work with your own family, that you're out for number one and your decisions are what you think matters and everybody else can go F themselves, basically. That's how she came across. And Jon had to put his foot down, and in the end he won the people over to his decision. So good for Jon. And later when we see them walking the ramparts, she's a lot more conciliatory. She's a lot more, they're just having a back and forward brother-sister discussion, and she's a lot more, not contrite. I mean, she was still sticking to her point of view, but she was a lot more comfortable, it seemed, chatting with her. And Jon didn't, other than saying, straight off the bat, saying, you can't question me in front of our people, I'm the king. And she was like, what, so you don't want to hear my opinions, you want to be like Joffrey. And then him saying, you think I'm like Joffrey? And she's like, well, no, you're the furthest person I've ever met who's from Joffrey. But nonetheless, she still said that. So in her mind, she was thinking, you're not listening to me. You're just doing whatever you want. You're ignoring me. And that to me means that she wants power. She learnt a lot from Cersei. She says that in this episode. We're hoping she hasn't learned the wrong lessons. But she may well have done. And if Jon doesn't listen to her, and she's got Littlefinger whispering in the background, although she sends him away quite smartly in this episode, which really was a fantastic put down and shows just how far she's come when she says to him, Lord Baelish, you don't need to always have the last word. I'll just assume it was something funny. Yeah, off you go. It's like he just doesn't say a word and just walks away. And Brienne's like, you can't trust him. And she says, I know. But they need him because they need the Knights of the Vale right now. And without those, their force diminishes to a half of what it currently is. So we'll have to see how long Baelish hangs around. If he thinks he still stands a chance of getting Sansa on his side, he'll be there. He'll stay. But if he gets an inkling that she's her own person and she's just playing him along, then things are going to change. But yes, so Euron meets up with Cersei and Jaime in the throne room of King's Landing. He looks like a really good character. How he managed to get 1,000 ships together in that short amount of time. I mean, we know time in Game of Thrones is incredibly fluid. Everyone jokes about how Varys can get from Dawn back to the ship with Dany and all over the place in like split seconds, seemingly. But the last time we saw Euron, he laid out his orders saying, I want 1,000 ships built and, I want them done now. And, okay, the Iron Islands, as Euron describes himself, are rock and bird shit. They've got no trees, which means they have to come to the mainland to harvest trees. Do you know how many trees will be needed to create these 1,000 ships that we see him suddenly have on screen in this episode? And nobody's going to hang around, nobody's going to stop him from cutting down all these trees. There are people guarding the coastline. They will see the Ironborn come to the coast and start cutting down the trees, turning them into planks and carting them back to the Iron Islands, where I'm assuming the shipyards are. But again, how many shipyards would you need to create 1,000 ships in that short period of time? It just doesn't make any sense. Unless years have gone by, which is what he would need to create that armada, and we know years haven't gone by, then it makes no sense whatsoever. And it's a stupid, weak story point to have it that way. Plus, he's brought 1,000 ships to King's Landing to basically walk into the throne room alone and say, I'm here, you can have my 1,000 ships if you marry me. And Cersei's like, well, no. And he's like, well, I know how to win you over, I'm going to go and get you a gift. And then off he goes. So he's brought 1,000 ships here for no other reason than to propose and get turned away. Now he's got to take those 1,000 ships somewhere else. What a waste of time. And what gift is he going to go and get? There's been a lot of debate since the last season about the Dragonbinder horn, which in the books is a horn which Euron finds while he captures a ship with warlocks on it and he kills them, but he also gets this Dragonbinder horn from them, which supposedly no mortal man can blow and live. However, if there are any dragons in the vicinity who hear the horn, they will obey the horn's master. So Euron doesn't necessarily need to blow the horn. If he can find it and gain possession of it, he can get one of his men to blow it. Yeah, that guy's going to die, but Euron's the master of the horn, so the dragons would then obey Euron. So is this the gift that he's going to go and get? Is this how they're going to introduce it to the TV show? Will this be how they're going to say, well, look, at the moment, Dany's got 3 dragons. Nobody can really stand up to 3 dragons. So to make this an even fight, we need to give Cersei something that she can actually fight back with. So we could end up with a dragon-on-dragon fight at some point. We'll have to wait and see. But that's pretty much it for this episode. Dragonstone, the title of the episode. It was just didn't light me on fire for this season. I wanted it to be a kick-ass, ripping into this shorter season, giving us everything we need to see, giving us a bit of action, but basically all it was monologue. We see the Hound going back to that hut, that farm with the Brotherhood of Banners, a place where he stole when he was with Arya. I don't know if you remember. This is why he didn't want to go to that farmhouse, because he remembered when him and Arya were working their way through Westeros, he stopped there for the night, and the farmer and his daughter looked after them. But in the morning, the Hound hit the farmer, stole some food, and walked off. And Arya said, "You can't do that. He's a good people." And he said, "Yes, he's a good person, but by the winter, him and his daughter are going to be dead." Now he's come back. Winter is here, and he finds them dead. And that is a shock to him now, that he has come full circle in this small regard, and he finds them here dead. So the Hound is on an interesting journey, and we'll have to see what happens with him and the band of brothers. Obviously, they're heading north. We see Beric Dondarrion later on with a flaming sword, and we assume he's with Jon north of the wall. So we're assuming those guys are heading north. But basically this entire episode was just monologue, setting people up so you knew where everyone was. But the main characters are exactly where they were when we saw them last at the end of the last season. Jaime and Cersei are still in King's Landing. Jon and Sansa are still in Winterfell. We saw Dany on her ships coming over, and so she's in Dragonstone. Fine, okay, that's one place. We knew Sam was in the Citadel, so that hasn't changed. So everyone's pretty much exactly where we left them at the end of this last series, the last season. But they've spent this entire first episode basically telling us again where everyone is, and then just using some time to monologue in a few things, showing us some cool Arya sections. But that's pretty much it. So for me, not a good first episode. No. This one's going to get a solid 5.5 dragons out of 10 dragons, I think, on this one. It really wasn't a good opening episode for this season. I'm hoping things are going to start ratcheting up a bit as we move in, but we'll have to wait and see. So for now, that's my review on Dragonstone. Can't wait for the next episode. Huge Game of Thrones fan here, so I'll see you next time. Until then, you guys take care.